Welcome to the Once Upon an Island podcast. I'm your host, Wesley, and of course, I am joined by my lovely co-host,
Mary.
And today we're talking about Survivor 40 Several, the premiere, and we're going to analyze the winner. Well, we don't know who the winner is yet. We hope it's one of the people Mary and I have chosen. Today, Mary and I will just have like a top 6, and then next week we'll rank every single player. But to be ranking all 17 players at the moment, I feel like I don't have enough information, even with the 2-hour premiere.
Mm-hmm.
So, Mary, what did you think about the 2-hour premiere of Survivor 40 Several?
Well, yeah, there were some definitely good moments. I liked the new twist to the Beware Advantage. I did think that made it a little bit more interesting. I already have connected with some of the players, and I'm excited to see their gameplay. But yeah, overall, just in general, it was a bit long for me. I don't feel like enough happened to, again, like, to justify the 2 hours, I guess.
No.
And that could just be my opinion. That may be my opinion only, but yeah, that's what I thought.
I agree. It should have been 90 minutes for this premiere. It felt like we spent an hour of the 2 hours on a scavenger hunt for the Beware Advantage, which was the same for both tribes. They didn't even mix it up. I remember in 45, that was like their thing. They're like, oh, we're doing 90-minute episodes. We know we're going to do 90-minute episodes. So we should make the Beware Advantages different on each tribe. So it's something different for the viewer to watch. But in this case, they were exactly the same, which is fair by game standards. But then they just spent so much time on it for Gabe, and then spent so much time on it for Rome. And at the end of the day, like, the information that was presented for both of them, I feel like could have been condensed 10 minutes in total for both.
Sure.
And it felt like it took half the show. And maybe it wasn't half the show, but sure felt like it.
Right.
So what did you think about the revamped, they got rid of Sweat versus Savvy, and they introduced, I mean, they didn't introduce nothing. It was just a journey with Aysha and TK.
Right. This was fine. I didn't necessarily mind it. I guess I'm glad they're trying something new again, because we were all kind of a little tired of Sweat versus Savvy, or I was. So something different, a little bit fresh. I was good with it. And yeah, it was like an intense, oh, who's going to get it? Because I really thought that Aysha was going to get it, because she was just like boom, 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 getting all the clues. But then how both of them got lost in the forest, I don't know. But
Aysha seemed unwilling to just bolt down to the ocean, and TK was like, I'm just going to go down to the ocean.
It's clearly a hill or something. You just go down the hill and you'll find the ocean. But,
well, she was trying to find the path to get down to the ocean. TK was like, I'm just going to go straight to the ocean. So yeah, it was just another journey. They just replaced Sweat vs. Savvy with the journey. Though, to be fair, they've been doing Sweat vs. Savvy and a journey. So to get rid of one of them was good.
Yeah.
Now let's get rid of the journey and just introduce something in the camps for people to do instead.
Yeah.
Rather than separating them. Like, there's no social game here for TK or Aysha. Aysha gets back, and they don't even mention, like, oh, maybe she has an advantage like we normally get. So it seemed like, I don't know. It's like, what was the real repercussion here? Nothing.
Well, I think it's always possible. And it is interesting to see how players handle coming back from a journey, because immediately, and I forget who said it, I apologize. Somebody was like, I wouldn't ever volunteer for this. I don't know why Aysha's volunteering, because you never want to be away from your tribe. You're going to win because, I think it was Rome. You're going to win because you're spending time with your tribe. I'm going to win because I'm spending time with my tribe.
And that is true.
And
bonding
she's
with your
not.
tribe is more important.
But Rope spends his time searching for an idol during the time Aysha's gone, which isn't spending time with his tribe. He alienates himself, and Aysha comes back and immediately integrates herself with the tribe.
Yeah.
So that's definitely like strategy, personality. I think it's still part of the game.
Rome took the song by the B-52s quite literally when they say, roam if you want to, roam around the world. And that's what he was doing, looking for a Beware Advantage, and then going into the well and just everything else. Rome's not going to crack our top 6, so we're not really going to be talking about him today. Neither Mary nor I. We will have our top 6 in the description, of course, so you can look at it in case it gets a little bit confusing as we talk. Do want to throw out there, Mary, how do we not address this? What did you think about John being voted off over Andy?
Oh, I was a little disappointed about that. I was excited to see John play. Like, he had been hyped up, I guess, in my mind as this interesting player, and I felt like he did such a better job already in the strategy portion than Andy did. I mean, like, come on.
Another epic first boot.
Andy's meltdown was clearly like, you don't want the guy around. You just don't. I'm sorry. He's probably super nice and everything, but like, if you want to keep your tribe strong, you clearly keep John, who has a good head on his shoulders, can talk to people, has good relationships. has humor. I don't know. It was a bad decision in my mind, but who knows? I'm not on the beach. I can't see everything going on. But yeah, I was disappointed because I was excited to watch him play.
If you have a Banu on your tribe, you got to get rid of the Banu.
Apparently not.
The Purple tribe did not succeed last season until Banu was gone. And Andy seems to be their Banu. It's like, did you guys learn nothing? Like, they did watch most of 46 before they came out here. So this should be fresh in their brains. Banu should be fresh in their brains.
Maybe it is, and it's not in the bad and not in a good way. I don't know.
Maybe they're some of the hearts that Banu won when he was looking for a million of them. All right. Well, we are number 2 on the charts, number 1 in your hearts. That's our phrase for this season. I do want to bring up the fantasy game that you can join anytime, by the way. Link in the description is for all paid patrons. We have 2 groups. We filled up the first group and we had to make a second group, but it all counts. And I'm going to show you the standings here on screen. I'll put up group 1 and group 2 side by side if I can. If not, I'll rotate between the two of them. It's pretty obvious which one's which. Whoever wins gets first place. Whoever has the most points wins. Like, it doesn't matter which group you're in. It's just whoever gets the most points wins. That's first place. And then second place, same way. If we get a tie, we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. I'll do like some sort of trivia question. We'll do something. I'll figure it out. But at the moment, that's it. First place gets to pick any story video they want from any season of US Survivor. And then second place, and then first and second place, Mary, get a game of Castaway sent to them.
Nice.
From the guy who created it. He offered. And I was like, well, that's pretty awesome. So first and second place will get a Castaway game. I forget it's Castaway or Castaways. And then first place gets to pick a story video. So that's for all paid patrons. Right now, I am doing okay at best. I have Anik. I'm only counting my group 1 team. My group 2 team, I only had to make so I could have so that there was a second group. I'm not counting it. My winner pick in my group on my team is Solomon. Didn't feel too great after last night. He didn't get much screen time. We'll talk about that. And then my team is actually, I believe it's Annika and Gabe. And I felt okay about both of those. I'm like, thankfully I didn't get there's one team, Mary, that has John and Andy.
Oh,
fun. My goodness. Can you guess where they are in the standings?
I'm sorry. Well, last season, who did I have? I don't even remember their name because they were one of the first boots. You had
Jess.
Yes, I had Jess. I guess maybe she was one of the first, but very early.
Jess went second. Yeah.
So I feel your pain.
But I think I just want everybody to see who's at the top of standings, because right now it's two people in group 2 are actually leading the way. So if you look at group 2's standings, it is Francesca's Army in first place through all 10 votes. Those vote points really are how you win this game. I mean, survivor points are great. That's what your players get from doing stuff. But those vote points are everything. She put all, it's Gary. So I assume he put all of his votes on John. That's how I got 10 vote points for the yellow tribe. And then Probsters put 5 votes on John, but Probsters has a better team. Hence why they got 8 survivor points and Gary got 6. So those vote points are everything. It's a lucky guess there on John.
Yeah.
We'll see how that progresses throughout the season. I did not put any votes on John. That's why I'm 26th in group 1. So I'm even further when you combine both groups together. It's pretty bad. Do you know where you're at, Mary?
I'm looking right now. I have Solomon and Rachel. I'm 32nd because I spread all my votes out pretty evenly.
Well, I didn't spread any to John. I didn't think he was going.
I did give him 2 points, obviously.
Because that was part of the preseason press. Seemed like John was being hyped up. I'm with you. Seemed like he was going to at least make the merge.
Yeah.
With the way I'm like, this guy's got to make the merge at least. Jeff's like, I love John.
Must be just because he's John.
Maybe Jeff loves his podcast or something. Yeah, I don't know. Who knows? Anyways, that's the fantasy game update. We'll see how that goes from here on out. Rebecca is not doing too hot either, so all 3 of us, Mary, will need to pick it up. Not that any of us are eligible to win the prize, but we got to fight for respect around here, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
We gotta at least be respectable.
We got to be respectable. We can't be finishing at the bottom. That's disrespectful. I said that wrong, but I'll keep it in. All right. So we're going to go through, I think today we're going to talk about 8 different players. We're going to rank them, but this is just Mary and I's top 6. As I said, next week we'll rank every single player left in the game. So, Mary, the first player is Aysha. What can you tell us about her?
So, Aysha's on the red tribe. She had 12 confessionals this week. Aysha's in my top 6 because she has the most confessionals of anyone this week. I understand the journey is part of that, but also just because I do think she's kind of speaking for her tribe or leading her tribe. She seems like a really strong player. We know that she's a podcaster on Rob Has a Podcast, so she knows the game pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
And she knows how to connect.
Teeny knows that too.
Right. Teeny
So
recognized her, went up to Asia and was like, hey, I recognize you, but like only because I'm a super fan and I just love you. I want to let you know. So like, I think that could be positive for her as long as it's not overly. Well,
I say the moment somebody recognizes you got to get rid of them.
Well, okay.
That's my personal opinion.
I meant a positive for Asia and the fact that it should give her hopefully a leg up in the game as far as just knowing strategy, maybe knowing what to do. But she just seems also like a genuinely chill person who is connecting well. So we hear from her a lot. She did really well as far as her social game. And so she's number 2 for me.
I know that she joined Rob. I went back and checked her preseason stuff. She joined Rob's podcast back during 2020 when they were doing their search for more diversity on their podcast team. Because I think there's a lot of kickback to them because they had a lot of white people. I don't know how to say it. I don't run Rob as a podcast. That's what I gathered from seeing it. And she was one of them. And seeing her on the show was like, gotta be, I mean, that's super impressive. She got to say their podcast name on the air.
Yeah.
Does that affect her winner analysis? No. I just want to throw out there. That's pretty awesome. I was half expecting them like they're gonna not ever let her say the name of it on the show. And now that she said it, I'm like, well, now she has to mention that it's literally Rob Sesternino of Survivor that she works for, you know? Like she has to mention that, right? Am I going crazy?
Does she?
He was on season 6 and 8 of this show. I feel like it's super relevant.
Sure. I don't know.
I
feel like if you know, you know, and if you don't know, then why? I don't know.
Yeah. Somebody commented that their grandmother asked them what Rob Has a Podcast is. And then they asked if they listened to it. And they said, no. Well, they knew what it was, but they didn't listen. They said they listened to us. And I want to let you know, of course, number 1 in your hearts, as I said, but feel free to listen to other podcasts. Like it's, you know, I don't know how else to say that. I'm like diversity, I think in podcasts is good. Gives you different opinions.
It's true.
Yeah. All right. Well, Asia for me is number 3. Where is she for you?
She's second.
She's number 2 for you. I'm pretty high on her as well. She did have the most confessionals. That's not necessarily indicative of success, but it is good because most of the confessionals were positive. I don't remember anything remotely negative about her. It may be a too hot start kind of thing where it's like people recognize her threat and vote her off because of it. But at the moment, she's just fine. She is definitely, as you said, bonded with the group. She's not on the outs like Rome is, and she did integrate pretty quickly. Though I feel like, I don't know how many of her confessionals were on the journey, but I feel like a good chunk of those, I want to say like 4 or 5. I felt like they're from the journey alone, talking about the journey, being on the journey, whatever. So how many of those are non-journey related? I don't know, but it's still an impressive number regardless, considering like Kyle got 1. I know we're not going to talk about Kyle because he didn't crack either of our top 6.
Several people got 1.
Several people?
Okay, sorry, not 7 people.
Gotta be careful.
5 people got 1 confessional.
There you go. Yeah, Kyle got 1. It's like, I was a foster kid for 5 years. I lived at 26 homes. We're not going to expand on that?
Yeah.
Okay, just leave that one hanging there at the beginning of the show. I'm going to keep it in mind. We'll see if it comes up later. It's just like everyone else in the beginning of the show, like even Asia she was one of the 3 people who got a confessional at the very beginning. So if Sam, Asia, and Kyle are the final 3, they let you know right from the beginning because those are the 3 that got, well, I think, was there someone else? I forgot. I got to pull up my old notes. Those are the 3 that had pictures and everything at the beginning.
Yeah. John got 1 halfway through the first episode, which obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah. But Asia, Sam, and Kyle were the 3 that happened at the intro.
Yes. And though we do not count Sam or Asia's backstories as emotional backstories because there was no emotion to the backstory. Sam's like, I'm just going to be a wolf in wolf's clothing. They showed pictures. Asia's like, I have a fly swatter behind my back. They showed pictures, and she's like, I don't do anything unless I know I'm to be successful. So to me, it's not an emotional backstory, which is what we're looking for a winner, but it is a good indication to me that they're going to be important. Yeah. Going deep in the game. I feel like they wouldn't have done that. They didn't do, I don't know. They didn't do it for like Andy, John, and who else? Like the Matt chat to me was a mess. The Matt chat, I don't know if this will come up because I don't know if, I mean, I'm sure it will because we're going to talk about a couple of these people, but like Gabe, Teeny, Andy, and John all got a Matt chat. Andy and John, no.
Yeah.
Well, obviously no for John, quite literally. But Andy's not winning. Gabe and Teeny, maybe. So
Matt chat, we already have discussed is a little bit of a dead thing. Yeah. So we'll see.
But I think that we cannot ignore the opening backstories, and Kyle had the only emotional one. Not that that means anything in terms of winner, but it does matter to have a backstory and have pictures. So right away, those 3 are on my radar. They're not all in my top 6, but they're all on my radar. So anyways, Aysha for me, number 3, for you, number 2. Our next player is Gabe. Tell us about Gabe, Mary.
So Gabe is on the blue tribe. He had 10 confessionals last night, mostly because of his Beware Advantage find. A
mess of a find.
Yeah, it was a little bit messy. I think I'm kind of on the fence about him. He is in my top 6. I'm just like, I think I see him playing really hard. You know, I see him working for the advantage, risking the first idol, stopping at the second idol, which could be a smart choice of his because, we don't know how much time he has, whatever. And we also see him making allies. So he has a good ally in Sue already. We know that. And he's already tried talking to other people. Like he's already connecting with other people. We see that too. So far, playing hard, has a Beware Advantage, has allies, seems to be trying to make decisions and moves already. He was one of the few that had a match at. Yeah. So there's that too. But I'm also like, is he playing too hard, too fast? Like everyone heard him hiding the box on the hill. Like that was, and I know your adrenaline's running and you're really hyped up and everything, but like maybe he just needs a little bit more finesse to make it through. I'm afraid he might be.
Finesse or finesse?
Finesse.
Oh, okay.
Did I say it right?
And I was a bit
finesse,
confused.
sorry.
That was a different word.
He might need a little bit polishing,
okay, there we go.
But I think he has potential for sure.
Gabe's not in my top 6.
Oh, no?
And for me, it's because he was a mess last night. I feel like all of his content was focused around that Beware Advantage. Had he not stumbled into the Beware Advantage when him and TK were moving wood or whatever was happening, I don't think he gets that much content. So positives that he is connected with Sue, but negatives is that I feel like him and TK, I think he's already hurt the relationship that they could have had right out the gate. And this is early game stuff. This is stuff where you just want everyone to feel good about you. And if you're going to have to do anything to anybody, you want to do it later, not in the beginning. The beginning's not the time to be like, this is foundational relation time. These first 3 days, you do not want to be setting yourself up to have to dig yourself out of a hole already. It's too early for that. So TK being sus of him because TK knows about the key. TK doesn't know anything else, but TK should be like, okay, you have the key. Have you found anything? If I were TK, I'd be having follow-up questions about like once a day. I'd be like,
sure.
Hey, has anything happened with key? Like, we got to find this box, right? And then Gabe's going to act all sus about it because Gabe's already found the box. But so maybe TK doesn't ever push the issue again, just thinks it's weird. Some people are like that, but I know once a day I'd be like, all right, like I think after like 2 or 3 days, if I was getting like nothing, which is what Gabe seems like he's giving TK, I'd probably be like, okay, Gabe's lying to me.
Sure.
If it's like I'm getting nothing, Gabe's lying to me.
I definitely get that. I kind of took away that this could be a positive because TK didn't get a lot of positive edits from this. I don't feel like he did at all. So if somehow Gabe can like pull one over on him.
We'll talk about TK later.
If somehow Gabe can pull one over on him, that might be like a positive for him. That's kind of what I was thinking.
Gabe does have an idol. It's good for 3 tribals, so that's important to know. He did stop before getting the one that lasts all game. What do you think about that decision?
In the moment, I'm like, no, keep going. You're on a roll. Like, why would you stop? But excuse me. I think sometimes that's just important to know when it is time to stop, when it is time to not take the extra risk and lose it. So maybe he knows something I don't, as far as like, this would be too risky and he's playing it safe. So I think there's times to play it safe and there's times to risk it. Me personally, I feel like I would have wanted to risk it, but that doesn't mean that's the right decision.
Yeah, I think Gabe's got himself in a rough position here. And I know you're higher on him than me. And frankly, he's on my fantasy team. We talked about that earlier. It's not too late to sign up for the fantasy team, but he's on my fantasy team. I almost wish I had just signed up after week 1 because I would have had way more information on picking my team. But I was like, oh no, I can't miss a week. What about the points?
Yeah.
So anyways, Gabe's on my team. I feel okay about Gabe, but Gabe as a winner at the moment, I don't really see it, but we'll see. You have him in your top 6. Maybe there's something there I don't see. But in the meantime, I think we need to do something we haven't done in quite a while, Mary.
What's that?
Board game time.
Board game time.
Board game time. Stonemeyer Games sent us another game. Amazing. Mary, can you tell everyone about it?
Yes. So we played Rolling Realms Redux. It is a game for 1 to 6 players, 14 and up. and it takes approximately 30 minutes to play. We really enjoyed this game. The point of it was to collect stars. You collect stars every round, and each round is made up of 9 turns. So basically, what was really fun about this was that each round you had different kind of objectives to do, and it all completely depended on a random card that you drew.
The variety of objectives really made this fun, yeah.
So it made it really like you weren't quite sure what was going to happen in the next round. And also just the uniqueness of each of the realms, each of the objectives, I thought was really fun. Like sometimes you're walking a dog, quote unquote, but sometimes you're fighting monsters, and it's really cute. It's really fun. A lot of strategy. It's definitely strategic. You have to kind of decide which realm to focus on right away, and that might not be the best decision, or it could be everything. So it was really, really fun. It was quick. I liked the easy setup. Yeah. You didn't need a lot to play it.
Definitely one of the games we've had the least amount of time we've had to spend setting up.
Oh, yeah.
Some games we'll do, it's like 15 minutes to get going, which is way too long. This game literally could set up in a minute to 2 minutes at most. Like just whip it out, as they say. Just whip it out. Whip out Rolling Realms Redux and just go. You already know the rules, that is. But yeah, it was not that hard to learn. It was fun. It was strategic. And I think I beat Mary at the very end.
Yeah, by like 1 star.
Yeah, well, eat that star, Mary. Yeah. Eat it. All right, well, thank you again to Stonemaier Games for sending us Rolling Realms Redux. We really appreciate it. All right, let's move on to our next player, Mary, which is Rachel. Rachel, tell us about her.
So Rachel's on the Yellow Tribe. She had 7 confessionals this week, which is, if you look at the 12 from Aysha or 10 from Gabe, doesn't seem like a lot. But as we've said, a lot of people only got 1 or 2 confessionals. So most of her confessionals, in my mind, I think were strategiג. So,
well, half of them were about Andy.
Right. We're about her social game. We'll say that.
Yeah.
And strategy. So I'm really high up on Rachel. I feel like because Andy gravitated toward her, also other people on her tribe seem to gravitate towards her. Seems like she's a natural social player. We haven't necessarily seen, obviously, a lot of strategy yet or anything like that. I am kind of confused as to why the decision was made to vote John out versus keeping Andy. And I'm sorry, I didn't really take great notes at that point, so I'm not sure which side Rachel. Obviously, she ended up voting out John, but if she was like leaning more towards Andy or John, I feel like she was leaning more towards John anyway. So, but yeah, I don't know. She's number 1 for me just because I feel like she's in a good position in her tribe. Everyone seems to like want to talk to her, want to connect with her. And we heard from her. She's narrating her tribe, whether it's Andy, whether it's the challenge or whatever. She's the one talking about what's going on. So she seems, no matter what, she's going to be an important player. She's definitely not going out next week, in my opinion.
I do question Rachel's decision to keep Andy over John. In fact, I question the whole Gata tribe's decision to do that. But Rachel does not crack my top 6. I did debate for a minute on whether I should put her in my top 6, but I decided ultimately against it because I questioned the decision to keep Andy despite what she witnessed, despite all the interaction she had, despite the pressure she felt from him, despite the fact that it seemed like he was actively hurting her game and she acknowledged this and then still proceeded to keep him. She wasn't like, they're like, we got to get rid of Andy. Like that was not her pitch come post immunity challenge. It's like, what are you doing? I thought you did not like this guy.
It could be, again, I don't know, but I feel like a lot of people come into this new era of Survivor with the shorter days thinking we got to play right away. We got to get threats out right away. We got to, play hard right away. And sure, to an extent that's true compared to the older seasons, especially. But at the same time, do you want an emotionally unstable person on your team who is not going to be there for anybody, who's not going to be loyal and thinks everyone hates them? Or do you want somebody who is a team player, who does want to play, is there to, I really feel like it came down to the fact that because John tried to hook in, was it Sam, to vote with him and Andy to get one of the girls out. Yeah. And so Sam therefore was like, and I think that really magnified the target on John. Instead of John, if John would have just been like, yeah, let's vote out Andy and wouldn't have tried to play, would he have saved his game? Maybe. I feel like that they thought he was just more of a strategic threat and they know they could get rid of Andy at any time. But I don't know. I don't think it's a smart decision. I think you're going to go back to tribal if you keep Andy.
So Rachel, where do you have her ranked?
She's number 1 for me. Interestingly
enough. She does not take my top rank my top 6. I'm sure next week I'll have her in top half, unless of course she does something atrocious next week.
Right.
But at the moment doesn't make my top 6. But number 1 for you. Very interesting. All right. Our next player is Sam, who is in my top 6, but I don't believe he's in yours.
He is not in my top
Give me
6.
the stats on Sam.
Sam is also on the Yellow Tribe, and he had 3 confessionals this week. I think all of them, or at least one, definitely was about, whether to vote off Andy or John or whatever.
There were 2 separate confessionals that stand out in my mind. Of course, the first one is how he had the backstory, and not emotional backstory, just backstory with pictures. Let's just call that the pictures confessional because there's no backstory.
Sure.
He wants to be a wolf in wolf's clothing. Now, that is, if that's a winner, great. But it's definitely, in my mind, it was positive only because a later confessional is him wanting to be the glue guy in his group.
Mm-hmm.
He wants to be needed, basically. I know, Mary, you and I watched through Seinfeld fairly recently. I don't know if you recall, George and Elaine were like, they didn't know how to interact unless Seinfeld was around.
Right.
So once he showed up, they're like, oh, okay, good. Like we can talk. But like when he wasn't around, they're like, so how's work?
Mm-hmm.
It's fine. And it's like, that's like the whole conversation. But once the glue guy showed up, Jerry Seinfeld, then they were good. So Sam wants to be that. And I think that's actually a really positive role. And I don't think I've ever heard anyone describe that being their strategy in Survivor. I'm sure it's been a strategy, but it's never been described, especially not in that way.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually think it's a good strategy. It's not, it doesn't put you on the open, but it does make you feel needed.
Right.
And feeling, if others feel like they need you, then they want to keep you.
Right.
And that's what Sam wants.
Yes.
Does he accomplish it? We'll see. But at the moment, I think that's a really good strategy. And I liked the positive content he got. He was not ever thrown into any negativity. Like he wasn't, even though the L Tribe decided to get rid of John over Andy, it didn't seem like that was a Sam driven decision.
Right. No, he just kind of presented it to the rest of the tribe and they all talked about it. I feel like. Yeah.
No. Which is still, so Sam was a part of it, but I don't know. It just was never presented as Sam screwing up the tribe. It seemed like the tribe screwed up, though I really put it mostly on Rachel for who seemed to have the most red flags, who should have pushed against getting rid of John, in my opinion. But what do I know? I was not there. Right. But I feel like over a 2-hour episode, I should not be confused about why, about truly, are we really keeping Andy because he's stronger? Really? Yeah. Is that what we're doing? Survivor comes down to puzzles. It does not come down to who can lift this rock.
Right.
Nothing interesting. It comes down to puzzles. So, all right. Sam for me is number 2. He doesn't even rank in your top 6. What do you think about him?
I see what you're saying. I feel like I need more information on him. You know what I mean? Like he was, besides that one confessional about him being glue. Yeah. He just didn't have a lot of content. So you're right. The glue strategy is a good strategy. If he makes it farther, obviously great. So I just didn't feel like I had enough information for him.
All right. Well, I do want to mention very briefly that normally we do secret scenes during this podcast. This week we couldn't find them. I feel like they've moved on us or we are blind. Pick one. But there are secret scenes and we will talk about those next week and if they relate at all to winner analysis. I just want to point that out because normally we do that. This week we don't have any for you to talk about, though they do exist. I just found them while we were podcasting. That's why I even bring it up now. So next week we'll talk about them and see if they relate to stuff being left out. Usually is like, okay, is this good stuff being left out about a person or is it bad stuff or is it just irrelevant? And sometimes it matters, as we learned. 45, it literally indicated who was not going to win. 46, I feel like they played it a little bit better, but 45, it was like super apparent. So, all right, our next player is Solomon, who I think Mary and I both just have a soft spot for because he's in both of our top 6s. But Mary, what's the stats on Solomon?
So Solomon is on the Red Tribe and he only had one confessional this week. And to be honest, I don't know what it was about.
I believe it's about Rome, if I recall. That's
very possible. So I think both you and I just kind of we loved his introduction stuff. We both have him. I have him on my fantasy team. I think we both.
Same. I had him as my winner pick.
Yeah.
Based on preseason stuff.
We just liked all his preseason content. So it was a little disappointing that he didn't have much content this week at all. But I still have him in my top 6 because I'm going to back up my fantasy team. So, he seems to be in a good position. He's not on the outs on the Red Tribe. He's already, you can tell.
Their tribe dominated immunity. So they might be just the strong pre-merge tribe. Though lately that has actually been a negative in terms of going into the merge.
Sure. I was going to say, you can tell he's the big muscle on his tribe. He's going to be the one that helps them probably win consistently. And then I'm afraid he's going to be a merge boot because of that. But you never know.
At the moment, it seems like he's asking to be kicked off during the inevitable double, oh, let's split up everybody into 2 groups right after the merge. And everybody's like, what? We've never done this before for the past 7 seasons. You know, we got to play it dumb for the show. Anyways, yeah, Solomon, I like Solomon. He's strong, but I'm with you. It's like, wish there's more Solomon content. So he's number 6 for me. Where is he for you?
Number 6. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he just barely cracked our top 6s. At the moment, I don't feel like I don't feel solid about the 17 people left in the game. So Solomon just eked in probably because of bias. I mean, frankly, because of bias. So
yeah,
we'll see how that goes next week when we have more time with Red. But at the moment, it seems like Asia got a lot of the content on Red, Teeny got a little bit, and Rome got all the negative. Yeah. And Solomon was there. And frankly, that's not a bad spot to be in. It's just storytelling. Wish we got more from Solomon. Just storytelling. So, all right, our next player is Sue, who I gotta say, based on preseason, I'm shocked that she made anybody's top 6. But Mary, she made both you and I's top 6. In fact, our number 6 we agreed on. Our number 5 we agree on because we both put Sue at number 5. Wow. So, what's the stats on Sue?
Sue is on the blue tribe. She had 4 confessionals this week, which again, more than many people, several people, in fact. I don't know. We just both really liked her. I feel like a really good vibe from her. She has allies not only with Gabe, but with Caroline. And it feels like people are gravitating toward her, but not necessarily in the, oh, she's my sweet mom kind of way, which
I hope not, because that tanks win.
It usually takes your win. And we'll see as it comes, as we see more of her. But I mean, just her doing the lookout for Gabe and then her having her sweet little conversation with Caroline, and she beasted in the challenge too. I mean, she picked up one of those massive puzzle pieces and was running with it. And I think everyone was shocked by that. So anyways, I really like her. I like her personality. I think she'll be perceived as a not a great threat because of her age.
58 years old. And
so that might help her, of course, make it farther. But does she have the social game to make it to the end?
Gabe did want to loop her in over TK when it came to the Beware advantage, which is good, as you mentioned. My concern with anyone who's older, especially an older woman, is that they get pigeonholed into, especially older women, pigeonholed into the mother role, into, oh, they're my sweet mom, they can't backstab me. And then we get to the end and they don't take them to final 3, or if they do take them final 3, they just don't get any respect.
Right.
Because, frankly, the closest person to her in age, I believe, is Solomon. And he's 42 or 41, one or the other. No one understands her. And it's unfortunate. I really wish Survivor's more diverse in age and location, not just skin color, which is what their goal has been lately. Because Sue is gonna, in a way, is gonna take the hit on that. Probably. I wish we could get maybe a tribe where they're all above 40, a tribe all above 30, and then a tribe in their 20s. Because right now it feels like we have plenty of early 30s and plenty of 20s, but where are our older 30s, where are our 40s, 50, it's just not diverse enough. So I feel like Sue has an uphill battle in that sense, though Gabler did it. So it is not impossible. Right. It's just not likely.
And that's, I think, another similarity between them is Gabler didn't play he played the goofy uncle. You know what I mean? He connected with
Bruce
people.
wanted to do, but did not do successfully.
Bruce was more of the dad trying to tell people what to do.
But he wanted to be the goofy uncle.
I don't think Sue's going to be you got to do this and you didn't do that. Whatever mom. Yeah. I think she will be more like the cool aunt or whatever, cool grandma. But yeah, you're right. It's going to be a harder row for her to hoe.
I think even Gabler was younger than her. I think Gabler was in his early 50s. Not that that's a massive difference to anybody in their 20s who just views them as old. Yeah. But regardless, Sue's got an uphill battle. I have her at number 5. I feel like she's in an okay position. We'll see how it progresses. Really, the test is always when people go to tribal. Yes. Where do we stand? Yeah. Because we don't know where blue and red really stand until they go. So once every tribe goes, we'll have a good indication of where everyone stands. Will we get a tribe swap this season? I don't know. Maybe we'll finally get 3 tribes going down to 2, which is actually what I want. Right. And that would completely change the game. But at the moment, if we keep going the path we normally do, we might get a tribe swap. We may not. Either way, Sue, I think, needs to be on a good tribe to avoid tribal. And then when she makes the merge, that's when she'll be in a good position. But she she really needs her tribe to win, is what I'm saying. Because I feel like Sue would be an early, easy, be like, well, Sue's not really helping us in challenges.
Yeah.
Even if she is, it's just that she's perceived not to. Like John, like they perceived Andy being more valuable. I went back and watched the immunity challenge, and John was there doing just as much work as Andy.
Well, yeah, and we're getting off tracking a little bit, but somebody said Andy didn't do that much in challenges. So at least
he was pulling the boat and John was pushing the boat. How can you say that Andy was doing more? Like Solomon was single-handedly carrying chests. That is a lot. Like that is clearly he's doing a lot of the work. The Red Tribe literally was waiting for Solomon to lead them, pushing the boat through, picking up chests, everything. So it's just not that. I'm like, Andy, really? All right. So let's move on to Teeny. Tell us about Teeny.
Okay, Teeny is also on the Red Tribe, and she had 3 confessionals this week. Also possibly a matchup. So
that feels like she had more content than that.
She was shown to be a very social player. I mean, one of her confessionals was definitely, I'm here to make friends. I can make friends with anybody. And we're shown that. I mean,
maybe it's because Aysha talked about her, so it felt like more too.
Yes. She talked to Aysha. I mean, there was lots of scenes of Teeny talking to one-on-one with many people. Aysha, Rome, I'm sure like everyone in her tribe. I don't know.
She said she wanted to be everyone's number one, which I do immediately. That's my only red flag on Teeny so far. That is not, it's not a good sign to want everybody to, I don't know. I just heard this before and it never works out.
Right. Well, yes.
It typically does not work out because if somebody's going, well, actually me with somebody, but it typically does not work out.
No, I understand. Typically that is not like the best strategy to have, but it makes sense. Like on paper, it makes sense that everyone wants to keep you. Especially closer to the end, you want to make sure you have a tight alliance.
Tight alliance.
At the beginning, it's okay to not be tight with every single person. So, I just felt like her match chat was all about her clothes, which is in her style.
Yeah.
So really probably nothing to do with the game.
I mean, match chats, I'm not looking for deep content though.
Right.
If the match chat is back, that's the question. Is the match chat back? It has not been here since 44 in terms of telling us who the winner is. So if it is here again, that means at the moment, if it's true, Teeny, who is it? Teeny, Andy, or Gabe, I believe.
Yes.
So, I mean, not absurd pick. I mean, Andy feels a bit absurd at the moment. So, but so did Gabe in 43. He felt absurd and he was one of the match chat people. If anybody's wondering what I'm talking about in Survivor 44 Secrets video, I show you how it was a pattern from 33 through 44. The winner was always talked to on the mat in the beginning of episode 1. However, in 45, they purposefully did it weird, almost like in response to all the backlash they got. Because it wasn't just us. It was online as general discourse about the match chat. And then in 46, they just didn't do one at all. Right. It was just Jeff talked to them. He's like, all right, let's do a challenge. So if it's truly back, because this felt more like a typical match chat, I feel like Teeny's in a good spot.
Right.
If that is true. However, I don't think that's it. I think actually what's more important here is those quote unquote backstories, the pictures.
Sure.
In terms of who's important. Also, I want to point out somebody did mention this, and it's not going to be Rob because we're not talking about Annika, but apparently, and it's just a comment, so I haven't double checked this. Somebody said that when Jeff says something about winning the $1 million, the first confessional we hear after that has been the winner the past 2 seasons. So it was Dee and Kenzie, and this season it was Annika. I hope I'm saying the name correctly. So I don't know if that's a thing. If she is the winner, then we have a pattern. We now have 3 in a row. Right. But I'm just not gonna sit here and be like, oh, 3 seasons in a row. So anyone wants to go back and see if Jam Jam had it and Gabler had it. Like, all right, then we have a pattern. But we'll see. We are always looking for patterns, though. The editors sometimes do it on purpose. I'm sure sometimes they don't even mean to. It just kind of happens. Right. You get into a pattern. You've done this. The show's on its 47th season. How are you not going to have a pattern? How are things not going to like eventually repeat, So anyways, Teeny number 1 for me.
Number 1. Yeah. You said like nothing positive about her.
I think she's in a good spot. As I said, my only red flag for her was, I forgot what it was. I said it earlier. What was my red flag?
The fact that she wanted to have alliance with everybody.
Yeah. But at the moment, I'm not going to sit here and be like, no one here really felt like an amazing, winner pick out the gate. And to be fair, it's only week 1. And I stayed up so late last night editing last night's podcast. And here I am the next day doing another podcast. Give me a week of rest. Sure. Let me get an episode 2 fresh and let me see what happens. And I'll come back. I usually don't figure out the winner until I would say, heck, we've got Kenzie. I think it was episode, 5, 6, episodes 5 or 6. Right. We were on to Kenzie at that point, and we were on to Dee around that point too. We'll get it. We'll figure it out. It's only episode 1. My My number 1 does not mean they're going to win episode 1. That's absurd.
Yeah, usually our top 6 change quite a bit in the first 5 or 6 episodes.
Our preseason picks are usually awful.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we'll pick somebody and then immediately forget who we picked, and it turns out they were the wrong choice.
Right.
So, anyways, yeah, Teeny's my number 1. Don't hold me to that. Teeny could just drop right back out. It is not like none of these people are locked into the top 6.
Right. She's number 3 for me.
All right, cool. Our last player we're going to talk about today is TK. What's the stats on TK, Mary?
TK is on the blue tribe and has 9 confessionals.
9. I know, Mary, you don't have me in your top 6.
Mm-mm.
For me, he's number 4. I actually liked the content I saw from him. The only red flag for me when it comes to TK is not the Gabe thing, though I know that could be perceived as Gabe doesn't want TK close to him. And sure, Gabe's kind of a mess at the moment. I don't know. I'm not too sure about Gabe and whether I should trust Gabe's perception and whether who wants to be close to as right. TK's close to Kyle. Caroline, I think I'm saying that incorrectly. Maybe it's Caroline. Caroline sees how TK and Kyle are close. Is that a bad thing at the moment? We don't know. We don't really know where Caroline stands.
Right.
So Caroline may like that, may want to join them. It could be a negative. I don't know. We really don't have a lot of information on the blue tribe outside of this long scavenger hunt we watched, is what it felt like. And again, I feel like in the past, Survivor's done this where they don't really give you a lot of information about social dynamics within tribes if they're just going to go on to win immunities, and then there's a tribe switch and it doesn't matter. And this could be a season where they do a tribe switch. Blue tribe never goes to tribal, therefore the social dynamics here don't really matter. That's why we spent an hour on this stupid scavenger hunt.
Right.
Because maybe that's actually what matters.
Right.
Whereas the social dynamics of blue don't really matter because we're going to tribe switch in episode 3. I'm just throwing out there. It's a possibility.
Right.
So they've been notorious for doing that in the past. Where it's like, why didn't I get to know this tribe? Oh, because it literally doesn't matter at the moment they do tribe switch. And then we go in the merge and that pre-switch tribe has no effect on anything.
Right.
So anyways, TK, I like the content I saw from him. The only negative for me is when, I get it when Aysha went to reach for the key and he's like, I know. And maybe it feels like I'm reaching there.
I don't feel like
but it's just the way it was handled.
No,
it's kind of like I wish he just found it earlier. So there was no, he didn't have to she was, I don't know. You know what I mean?
Sure.
What do I mean?
You feel like it doesn't look great for a guy to push away a girl while they're reaching for a key.
No, that has nothing to do with the guy or girl. I'm talking about how Aysha's going to feel about the situation afterwards.
Oh, no.
That's what I care about.
She knows it's a game. She
she knows it's a game, but it's TK. Don't know Aysha. Does he know? So if he's doing it to her.
What are you supposed to do?
He's
Let her have
everybody.
the key?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying just the way, I don't know. He's competitive. She's competitive. So
yes.
I'm sure it'll work out. I'm just talking about.
Yes. His competitive streak is what was negative for me. But to me, it's not the fact that in the moment of the challenge being competitive. To me, it came out when at the end of the challenge, he yelled over to the other team who won, hey, don't get used to that. Or he's talking about how we're just going to, I forget what there was something else where he was talking competitively, talking big, and that's all well and good. But wait until you've actually won something, first of all. And two, he was talking about himself in the third person. And I hate that. I can't stand that. And so that was another negative for me. But that's more personal. But yeah, he seems a little overconfident, a little cocky, and that can definitely kill you in this game really quickly.
So without naming names, Mary, I did tell people on yesterday's podcast about the Exploding Kittens games I played. Exploding Kitten game I played where I went all very antagonistic. So I was comparing it. I forgot the comparison last night. I did not name names, but I will say Mary was one of the people who did not appreciate the competitive spirit that I was bringing.
Yeah, there's competitive and then there's just being a punk.
Yeah, I was doing both. Maybe Mary says I was being a punk. I think I was being competitive. But I didn't name names, Mary. Don't worry.
Okay, good.
You're the name I'm naming because people know you. But anyways, so I just want to throw it out there. So when I see the competitive spirit, I'm for it. I'm all for competitive spirit. I'm only worried that competitive spirit will be reflected negatively onto other people, which is why TK is not. He's number 4 for me, and he could easily move out. It's not. None of these people are locked in.
He's not even in my top 10.
Wow, you ranked everybody?
Yeah.
All right.
I mean,
I'm
briefly,
interested next week to hear all that.
Very briefly.
Sure. Yeah, next week I'm interested in hearing how you have everyone ranked. But that is our top 6 for each of us. Again, the fantasy game. You could join. It is not too late to join. You could pick your team knowing that John's not there. You can pick your team knowing who's in a good spot, who's not in a good spot. You'll have an advantage over some of us. You just missed the first week of points that were there, frankly.
Which were not many for me.
Yeah, it wasn't many for me either. So All right. Well, we thank you all for listening, and we see you all next week when we rank the remaining, I believe, 16 players. All right. Bye.